All right, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Adam Phillips here for Dynamite Entertainment, and I'm joined today on this lovely afternoon with Darick Robertson, the artist and co-creator of The Boys. It is so great to see you here, Darick. It's been a long time.
Thanks so much, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And we've got a lot to talk about The Boys' legacy during this 20th anniversary year and the
20 years.
final season of the show and everything. It is crazy. But before we get
That was fast.
really fast, I know. Before we get too far into it, I'm just going to point out, because this will be something we touch on. Anyone listening, you've got a day left on our Humble Bundle Boys deal. So take a look at that and make sure you take advantage of these great opportunities and bargains and such. And also, we've got a crowdfunder that is going on Kickstarter right now. And again, a lot of good options there, a lot of tears, as they say. And you'll only be crying tears, haha, if you pass this opportunity up. So yeah, 20 years, my goodness. How? How? Right?
Yeah, exactly my question.
Yeah. I mean, did you even think for a minute when you were starting out drawing these characters that they would have this kind of longevity?
No. But what I did have the feeling when I was reading the first script that we were that we had something really solid. Ennis's first script was really tight, and there was a point when I sat down. I couldn't wait to get it because we'd spent 4 years developing this thing back and forth and designing characters and making changes because I was under contract with Marvel, and until my contract expired, I couldn't start on a new book. And then we got it set up at Wildstorm, and even that took a while. But that was so the day that I got the script that I could sit down and draw it, I stopped everything, just sat down and read it. And when I read the whole sequence with Huey and Robin and his stand there holding her arms, like I knew that we had something electric.
Yeah.
And that was the first image I drew. I actually went over my drawing board and I drew that before anything. So the first image of the whole book is Huey holding those arms of the whole series. And I was so excited. I remember even writing in I'm like, I cannot wait to draw this. I can't believe I get to draw this. I'm so happy because I knew what I could do with it. I knew that this was like, I had been under the push-pull of a lot of different, editors and companies and other people's characters for so long that outside of Transmetropolitan, I hadn't felt that sense of freedom creatively in a long time. And so I was quite energetic and excited to, pour that into something brand new that was ours as opposed to somebody else's.
Yeah, yeah. And that image you bring up, that scene you bring up with Huey and Robin, I mean, they translated that into the TV show.
Oh my God.
One of the many things that they've just picked up and made real life.
I'm so proud because when they first were going to do the show, I got the pleasure of sitting down with Darick Robertson. I hadn't met him before. And he asked me, and apparently it had asked Ennis as well, like, what do you want the show to be like? And I asked him at one point, like, are you going to include that scene with Huey holding the arms, not knowing they were going to change it like they did, with it being A-Train running through, or, spoilers. But he was like, I don't know. But he was curious he treated it with curiosity. Like, why was that important to me? And I explained it. But one of the things I said, I go, well, if you get that right, the comic book fans are going to be on board because they're going to know you've read the comics and that you respect the comics. And if that's not in there, I really feel that is, for most people, even people that are just now finding the comics or have never watched the show, they tell me, like, yeah, that's your jumping on point, because the moment you feel Huey's heartbreak, you're in for the ride, And so to his credit, Kripke made sure that was in there. And then Dan Trachtenberg turned it from comics into this onto the screen in such a unique way, the way he slowed everything down and the way, like, the blood slowly hits Jack. And And then Jack's scream when he realizes what's happened. Still, I mean, I've watched that multiple times for obvious reasons. It still breaks my heart every time.
Yeah.
Like
well,
you feel his agony. It's so good. Like he really, like I couldn't have hoped for a better team of talent to adapt something that I was a part of.
Yeah, it's so amazing, and that's a real tribute to the fine job the actors do. Um, so let me ask you. I've been thinking about this. Like when you were designing the character, when you look at the way you design the characters, how do they compare, and what do you feel like on the TV show they really got perfectly, or what did they interpret in a surprising way?
Well, what was funny for me is that was like my first experience in letting go, because I had to trust that the people that make a TV show know more about what works on TV than a guy who draws comic books who can make the world whatever he wants it to be.
Oh, sure.
And there's different compromises that have to be made when you're dealing with television. For instance, I learned that the main reason we don't see terror very much is that dogs are very difficult to work on and they eat up a lot of time.
That's a great point.
I didn't know that. And so, but they wanted to respect it. So we got an episode with terror, and I remember seeing the first time with Carl walking down the street away from the camera with terror at his feet. And I like choked up because I felt like I was watching my panel come to life,
Oh, yeah. So good.
And yeah, magic. So I remember seeing the casting photos come in, but the first person that I remember being aware of was Jack Quaid, because he went into Golden Apple Comics on Melrose down in LA, and my friend Ryan owns and runs the place, and he said, "Hey man, the guy who says he's playing Huey is here, and he's buying all the boys comics." And I went, "Well, that's cool." And I'm like, "Tell him I said hi." And then he took a picture of Jack holding all the comics, and all I could think of the moment I saw Jack, who I'd never really acknowledged or known, was he's really tall. That's Huey. How tall is Jack? And then I saw the cast shot, and I was like, he's taller than Mother's Milk. That's not right.
I know.
So, and then I got a picture of Carl. And then I heard Carl Urban, and I looked at him. I thought of him as Dr. McCoy and Judge Dredd. I'm like, perfect. And then he's got this big ass beard, and I'm like, wait a second, Butcher's clean shaven. So. But the great thing is that I had already kind of developed a repertoire with Darick Robertson, who is extremely generous with his time, and he would always respond to any questions or concerns I had, and I tried to keep them to a minimum, because at the end of the day, I don't really want somebody telling me how to draw, so I'm not going to tell somebody who's been charged with making a TV show how to make a TV show. But I was curious, I'd like why does he have a beard, and why isn't Huey Scottish? And he had reasons for everything. So what I learned was trust him. This guy knows how to make a great show, and he loves the comics, and he respected me and Ennis enough to sit down with us and get our feedback and our input in the beginning. So I really wasn't in danger of our comic book being turned into a what it could have been, because I often marvel at the show and think, man, this really could have been a stinker in the wrong hands, because we've seen it in other people's, we've seen other people adapt things and just miss the mark entirely. I'm looking at you, Marvel movies of the 90s.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's so many. There are a lot more misses than hits, not just movies, but everywhere. I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, but I really feel like when you see Homelander on your TV screen, it looks just so much like the comic book version.
I love that they were so faithful to my costumes, which is something I didn't expect.
That's incredible, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to see that element, like really, they stayed so close to my designs that I was honored by that. When Adam McKay was going to do it as a movie trilogy, he had an animatic that he showed me, and he had kept all the costumes, and I was like, and he said, no, these are great costumes, we're not changing it. So it was really nice to see that adapted to this production too. And also, but with Homelander, I just feel like Anthony just elevated that character on so many levels, and the writing on him is, I mean, in the comics, I always felt like the seven were there just to be foils to the boys, and the real heart of the story was the boys and their backstory. Where I feel like the TV show has kind of gone down a path where they've really built up who the seven are and why, and you get so much more of a sense of who Homelander is and what's wrong with him. That I find that Anthony's performance, like before the show ever existed, all I ever got asked to draw for people on the average was Butcher. Like he was by far the most popular character when it was just a comic book. But since the show, now it's like even with, like I usually get Homelander, and they always wanted me to make his eyes burning.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm going to have to think of who to ask you to draw if and when I see you. Challenge accepted.
But also with the other cast, you asked me also who else was great, but I have to I always visually, I still think Karen Fukuhara as the female, of course they gave her a name, but as the female, she visually, when she's in full rage mode and just wearing her black jacket and pulling off faces, and she is just pitch perfect.
Right.
But everybody, they all embody the characters wonderfully. I don't have a complaint about a single one of them.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just seeing my stuff come to life. She really looks like my character, from the page onto the screen.
Yeah. And you've drawn a million things since the boys wrapped. But you're still coming back to it now and then. I know we've got a new cover from you. For one of the, and I'm gonna try to show it now. Let's see if I can make this work.
All right.
Oh yeah, there it is. Nice.
Thank you. The thinking on this, for anybody curious, it's the angle right before the first page. So if you look at the cover and you look at the first page, this is the in between. But the cover would be after they're looking down at him, and then page one is them stomping on his face. So this is the moment you don't see.
That tranquil moment that we
tranquil,
Yeah.
Soup's got to lose some teeth.
Yeah, incredible. Man, I love to see you draw these characters, of course.
Thank you. It's always fun when I get to revisit them on an official basis.
Yeah.
I get a lot of permission requests, but it's different when I know it's on the cover.
Yeah. That would be really. It would be really cool to see more. Artwork from you on the characters and on the series. Of course, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Nick still wants some more covers out of me, so that's still on the agenda if I haven't blown the schedule, which I might have. As you've noticed, I can run late.
we appreciate it. And we love.
We had a 2:30 appointment, and I was like, I'm inking. Who cares about clocks?
I like it. You know what? That's what I like to hear from a creative talent such as yourself. And I don't know if you've seen these or not. I'm going to show this now, but we've got new printings of all the boys' omnibuses, and it's got this cool, really perfectly placed the boys' 20th anniversary, 20 years burst on there. So it says everything you need to know, the fact that we're at 20 years. I remember when the boys was just getting started because I was working at DC Comics, and that was one of those books where we, those of us who were there to read comics and enjoy comics, were super excited.
Yeah, I'm curious what your perspective on that is, because for me, it was still the most shocking cancellation I've ever had.
Oh, it was incredibly shocking.
I'm still I was like, it's like Wildstorm's #1 book. They're not going to cancel it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, man.
But thank you.
But most of us were excited. I can tell you that much. There was just a couple of people who said, this is a little too edgy. Too edgy.
That's what, you know what? And I always like to say, to their credit, they made it a painless transition over to Dynamite, and clearly that was the way it needed to be.
Yeah.
And God bless Paul Levitz for not holding it against me.
There you go. Yes. So, tell me some of the highlights of drawing the series. Is there a moment you look back on and you feel like, man, I really knocked that out of the ballpark? Or I
would love to be. I would love to have that level of confidence and ego to where I could say, yeah, that's where I nailed it. I am a quivering bowl of insecurity at all times. So no matter what I draw, you showed that cover and I'm like, don't like that hand. Like that's where my head goes. Like I can't even read my old work because I'll go through it and just want to draw it again and try to get it better the next time. The only thing I did like about that cover is my inking has really improved since the first since 2006. But 20 years of doing it.
There you go.
Usually, if you do something for 20 years consistently, you will improve.
Yes, hopefully you improve. I mean, I always was a fan. I dug what you do. Going back to
it has a raw energy to it that I think contributed to the early issues. Like there was something good about how, like my inability to draw ink cleanly was kind of, and also the pressure on me to draw it as quickly as I could was did come through in the energy of the pages. But I'm preferring the work I do these days as far as the quality goes, because I've gotten much better with my tools and I'm much better at building a schedule I can meet.
Gotcha. And let me ask you this. Do you have characters from the boys who you love to draw, or you go, or maybe some character who you wish you hadn't put so many details into that damn costume or whatever?
Yeah, the only one I never really liked drawing, and it was for the simple reason that I hated drawing his helmet, was the Deep in our version, where he had that, because it was a funny idea that Ennis had with this, old diving helmet, as and the whole point was that he was supposed to be kind of like, if I remember correctly, because we're talking about 25 years ago when we were first discussing it, but if I remember correctly, it was supposed to be like when he would speak, it was kind of like Charlie Brown's teacher. Like he would be, but the important thing is this, and like nobody knows what the hell he's saying. And plus his face was hidden within the mask. So making him emote or do anything interesting was next to impossible. But the way we built those characters was the entire idea was to play them for laughs. Like if I was personally involved in making the show, what I would have done was dress them the way like the like the Batman 66 TV costumes fit them, with actual latex with all the wrinkles. And in fact, there's a funny, it's kind of a subtle, but if you're reading the first issue of the boys again, and you'll notice after A-Train is when he's talking to the cops after, when they're kind of trying to figure out what happened with Robin, and Huey's freaking out and they're just talking to A-Train. He's kind of itching to get out of there. He's pulling a wedgie out of his ass because it was right up on him, Like, so I had him doing things like stretching out, pulling a wedgie loose, and, just because I was thinking about what it would really be like to run around in those kind of clothes.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
so, that would be, but I love that I met a fan in Greece, and he said, I feel like the comics were taking making a parody of the comics of the 90s, and they kind of were.
Yes.
And that because it was only 2006 when we, got this series going, it was the 90s were still pretty fresh in people's memories. But then he said, I feel like the TV show is going after like the MCU and the DCU and this like kind of manufactured cinematic superhero universe. And in that regard, like, well, then the super costumes, the way they do them on the show makes a lot of sense. Gotcha. And it works.
Yeah.
They look legit, and therefore it's more shocking when they do horrible things.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, how about the characters? Were there characters who were just like, yes, I get to draw a scene with this guy?
They were all like wonderful, because all the heart of the thing is that I always, and this kind of came at superheroes from the point of view of somebody who didn't grow up romanticizing them. His taste in comics from his childhood was very different than mine. So he grew up reading like 2000 AD and war comics and, these crazy things he would share with me that were really cool. One of them was called Invasion, and that character kind of inspired his idea for Butcher. And, and it was just a guy with a shotgun chasing down Nazis, but it was fun. It was great artwork. And then Beano and stuff like that. So his UK sensibilities didn't really line up with my American sensibilities, where I grew up on Mego and Super Friends and superhero comics were everywhere, and that was my childhood. So these characters were my friends, and when Superman the movie came out, like I was in awe of Superman. I love Superman, still do, And so those two sensibilities coming at each other, I think, was the yin yang and the sugar and spice that made the book work the way it did. And really, what it came down to was, I don't know if you're a Friends fan. There's a good episode where Rachel screws up making a trifle, and she accidentally switches over to the shepherd's pie recipe halfway through.
Right.
So there's like savory ground beef in the middle of her jelly and custard and all that, and everybody's pretending to like it except Joey. Joey's just chowing down on it, and Joey's like, and they're like, how can you eat that? It's like, jelly good, custard good, beef good. And that's kind of the way I went at it with the boys, was like, Garth Ennis writing good, me drawing my own superheroes good. It's like, if I'm drawing superheroes, especially ones that I get to create and design, that's a win-win for me. But then the script was incredible, so I was like, man, like I couldn't be in a better position to really do what I can do well. I'd worked with Ennis on a lot of Marvel stuff, and we knew we were a good creative team. So that was, we kind of went in with our eyes open after the Fury Max series did so well, and then Bourne did really well, that we were set up to create something special. And it's pretty amazing 20 years later to see just how special it turned out to be. So
fantastic. Well, it's great talking to you, Darick, and I just want to remind everybody, like I said earlier in the video at the beginning, the Humble Bundle.
You can't go wrong with a Humble Bundle, especially if you're a new time reader and you haven't read the series before. This is the best way to get it all for a great price, and it helps out a lot of
really
people.
Great opportunity. Yeah, really great opportunity there. We've also got the Kickstarter campaign that's running now. That goes a little longer. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The Humble Bundle deal is not to be missed if you want to check out the boys for the first time or have them in a different format that maybe you've had them before.
And the good news is, if you've not read the comics don't spoil the show, and the show doesn't spoil the comics. You can have two separate entertainment experiences with the same bunch of characters.
Now, do you know how the show's going to end, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, nobody suspects the Spanish Inquisition.
And I was just going to say, are you going to tell us what happens, right?
Well, when Chewbacca shows up, it's a real surprise. That's all I'm going to say.
That's surprising.
Yes.
That would be a big surprise. Well, it's great to talk to you, Darick. I hope we get to see each other maybe at San Diego this summer.
Yeah, I hope so too. Probably not this year, but I'm doing a lot more cons than I used to do.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll find another opportunity to do this. I hope one of these days.
You bet. Thanks for having me on, Adam. Thanks for buying the book, everybody.
Yes.